Living near children in old age, the best solution. John Miller worked his whole life as an engineer in Detroit and dedicated himself to his family. His house once buzzed with life, the smell of roast turkey on holidays, the laughter of children playing baseball in the backyard during summer, and lively conversations over Sunday brunch. Like a typical American, he believed his hard work and sacrifices would be rewarded with a peaceful old age surrounded by loved ones. Years flew by. The kids grew up. Michael, the eldest, moved to New York City to build a career in finance. Emily, the younger one, settled in sunny San Diego after getting married. The house felt empty, especially after his wife Susan passed away. John was alone. Days dragged on. He whiled away the time, rewatching old Detroit Lions games on TV, drinking coffee while flipping through the Fresh Wall Street Journal, and sometimes dropping by the local hardware Hank store to chat with old acquaintances. But these encounters became fewer. Some had moved to Florida, others to nursing homes, and some were gone. One evening, sitting in his recliner by the fireplace, John leafed through old photo albums. He sighed. Maybe I should move near the kids. They'll take care of me. I won't be so lonely. He remembered his own father moving in with his older sister in Arizona. It seemed like the natural thing to do. With that thought, he made his decision. Selling his house in the Detroit suburbs, where most of his life had passed, John rented a small apartment in Brooklyn, just a few blocks from Michael's luxury loft. Modest digs, but being close to his eldest son filled him with hope. The first few months were a dream. Michael and his wife Jessica welcomed him warmly. Grandkids Liam and Olivia were thrilled to hear his stories about old Detroit. Sundays meant family brunches at the loft, discussing politics, old times, and vacation plans. Neighbors in the new building nodded hello. He felt part of something important. But like autumn leaves falling, this happiness didn't last. Michael got busier with work. The grandkids, once eager for Grandpa's tales, were now occupied with soccer practice, coding classes, and TikTok. Emily from San Diego called less often, citing her busy life. Visits dwindled. Calls became brief. Sometimes, the only person he saw was the barista at the local Starbucks where he got his Americano. John sensed something odd, physically close, but emotionally farther than ever. He wasn't part of their lives, just an observer on the sidelines, waiting for scraps of attention. For the first time, he doubted. Had he made the right choice? At first, Michael often stopped by after work for coffee, chatting about the markets. Now rare visits, the grandkids preferred PlayStation to stories about the '67 Mustang. Calls often got cut short. Dad, sorry, in a meeting. Call you back, but call you back was forgotten. John felt a growing emptiness. He'd moved for closeness, but found living in the same city didn't mean being connected. Grandkid visits became another slot in their packed schedules, between school and dates. Jessica, once smiling, now barely hid her weariness when he dropped by unannounced. He felt like a burden. One cold December evening, looking out at the Manhattan lights and the tree at Rockefeller Center, he faced a bitter truth. His loneliness hadn't vanished. It just changed shape. Back in quiet Michigan, he was physically alone. Now, in noisy New York, surrounded by family he loved, he was spiritually alone. He'd created an illusion. His kids lived their own lives with careers, children, problems. And he, who'd given them everything, now felt like a guest in their world. One day, seeing Jessica and the grandkids rushing to a school play, he tried to talk to Michael. Adjusting his tie and grabbing his Tesla keys, Michael tossed out, "Sorry, Dad, we're late." Later, in that moment, John realized his children's time didn't belong to him. His sadness only grew. He began to feel resentment. He'd given his best years, paid for their college, sacrificed his own dreams for their future. Now he just wanted a little of their time. Sitting at the kitchen table with cooling coffee, he thought, I poured my life into them. Haven't I earned their attention? But reality didn't match his expectations. In their loft, he caught their sideways glances. When he showed up unexpectedly, they buried themselves in their iPhones. Conversations turned monosyllabic. One night, listening to the tick of the old grandfather clock, the only thing he'd kept from home, he remembered his father's words. Hope is a good breakfast, but a bad supper. Had he expected too much? Had he handed his happiness over to them? He'd always believed old age would be a quiet harbor with family. But that wasn't guaranteed. He'd built his life around them, expecting reciprocity. But their lives were obstacle courses. Was his sadness from their distance, or his own unrealistic hopes? But they're my kids. Life was more complicated. Deciding to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge, he sat on a bench. Watching tourists, joggers, old men feeding pigeons, he thought, maybe I should stop expecting so much from them. Maybe the solution wasn't with them, but with him. Moving to New York, seemingly logical, had become a trap. He'd become emotionally dependent. At first, every call, every BBQ invitation, pure joy. Then, less frequent. He lived in anticipation, waiting for a call, a visit, a sign of care. Every dad, we're super busy, stung, days dragged, coffee called. In a coffee shop, he overheard two retirees arguing about baseball. One said calmly, "Peace comes from within, old man, not from others." The words hit like thunder. He'd always believed happiness was in the family circle. What if it was inside? He remembered his younger self, strong, independent, finding joy fishing on Lake Michigan without needing anyone's approval. What changed? Age? Or had he created this need himself? By moving, he'd put the burden of his happiness on his kids. Was that fair? Was it pushing them away? He decided, enough waiting. If they came, great. If not, he'd find things to do. He'd lived decades before they were born and could keep living. He stopped living for phone calls. Mornings, instead of checking his phone, he went to Central Park, watched squirrels, yoga groups, families picnicking. For the first time in months, he felt part of the world, not just a spectator. He filled his days, reread Steinbeck and Hemingway gathering dust, savored rituals, brewing coffee in an old pot, choosing special beans, walked in the park, chatted with other retirees by the pond, made a Facebook account, found old college buddies, even bought a guitar, a youthful dream, and practiced blues chords in the evenings, gazing at skyscrapers, started cooking, recreated Susan's famous meatloaf and apple pie. The smell of home cooking filled the apartment with coziness. He understood. Being alone didn't mean being lonely. The difference was attitude. He could whine or fill his life with small joys. One morning, sipping coffee watching pigeons on the balcony, he smiled. For the first time, he wasn't waiting for a call. He was at peace with himself. The kids noticed the change. Before, Michael felt guilty visiting. Now, his father spoke easily on the phone, about books, walks, new friends. He didn't sound unhappy anymore. They realized visits weren't an obligation, but a joy. They started coming more often, not out of guilt, but desire. The first time Michael dropped by unexpectedly, he saw it. His father was genuinely smiling. Not forced, calm. John had found freedom. He no longer measured his worth by their attention, found joy in little things, and rebuilt lighter, more sincere relationships. They were together because they wanted to be. When he stopped demanding love, he started truly receiving it. John accepted the main thing. Everything changes. The kids grew up. Their world was careers, their own children, responsibilities. The house full of laughter was in the past. Sitting on a bench by the pond in Central Park, hearing the city hum, he remembered Thoreau. Time is but the stream I go a-fishing in. Life flowed. Fighting it was pointless. The pain wasn't just from their distance, but from his resistance to change. Life is cycles: childhood, youth, maturity, old age. Each has its gifts. He used to see the kids as the boy with the baseball bat and the girl with the doll. But they were adults. Less time didn't mean less love. It was the natural course. Walking home, he saw an ad for a new Ford pickup. Smiled, remembering his old truck. The seasons change, and so do we, he thought. Accepting impermanence, he found peace. Mourn the past. No, be grateful for it and create new moments. Home, he brewed coffee, picked up his guitar. Happiness wasn't in the past. It was in accepting the present, a new chapter. Loneliness stopped being a burden. He saw it as an opportunity. Instead of TV, the guitar. Instead of waiting for calls, Facebook and walks. Made a mini garden with tomatoes and basil on the balcony. The smell reminded him of Susan's garden. Played blues in the evenings. Music filled his soul. Learned to bake her cookies. The smell of home baking brought comfort. He understood. Being alone does not equal being lonely. The difference was choice. Complain or fill life. One morning, coffee on the balcony. Watching pigeons, he smiled. Didn't wait for a call. Was at peace with himself. The kids found a different person. Calm, light-hearted. Their meetings became sincere. Loneliness became a gift as space for growth. He used to believe love equals constant presence, calls. Now he understood. Love is respect and freedom. Before, a missed brunch was a tragedy. Now, no problem, son. Whenever works. He remembered his Detroit pastor's words. True love sets free. A river doesn't hold the water. He hadn't understood then. Now, he did. His kids weren't those children anymore. They had their own lives. It didn't mean they loved him less. That's life. When Michael apologized for missing a visit, John answered lightly, "Don't sweat it, Mike. All good. Drop by when you can." He was free from expectations. And strangely, the less he demanded, the more willingly they came, not out of duty, but desire. Conversation, without blame, he found peace. True love doesn't hold on, doesn't demand. It lets go, and creates the strongest bonds. John Miller understood the main thing. The parenting cycle was complete. Just as he once held their hands, walking to school, now it was their time to walk their own path. Parents teach children independence. Children teach parents to let go. Old age isn't a burden. It's a time for wisdom and peace. Life is cycles, each is beautiful. His questions, why don't they call? Why don't they include me? Changed to understanding. They hadn't drifted away. Life had taken its course. He remembered himself as a young father, loving his parents, but swallowed up by career, mortgage, kids. Now his kids were at that stage. The weight lifted. He started living more fully. Morning walks in the park. Reading not just classics, but new authors. He valued the freedom of old age. No need to chase anything, prove anything. His only responsibility was himself. The kids saw the change. He was calmer, wiser. Didn't ask, "When are you coming?" Just smiled and enjoyed the moment. Without expectations, this brought them closer. Now they were together out of genuine desire. One night, looking at a photo of Susan by the fireplace, he whispered, "Got it, honey." Life's like the Mississippi, always flowing. He felt light. The cycle complete, at peace with himself. John spent his last years in peace, didn't wait for the kids' constant presence. True connection was in respect and gratitude. When his time came, he left without regrets, knowing he'd done what he could. Raised them with love, they were on their paths. Most importantly, he'd learned that happiness isn't in others, it's within himself. After the funeral, Michael and Emily sat in his Brooklyn apartment. It still smelled of coffee. On the table, a volume of Steinbeck, a guitar in the corner. They didn't sob. They knew he'd found peace. They understood. He left behind not things, he left wisdom. Before, they thought his happiness depended on their attention. Now they knew, no. He taught them, true love doesn't demand blame. It just is. Remembering his last years, calm, smiling, independent, he didn't pressure. Just shared moments, gratefully. That's why they wanted to be near him, not out of duty. Michael picked up his father's book. Inside the cover was a note, true love sets free. A parent's job isn't to hold on forever. It's to teach them to fly. And when they fly, applaud. Don't complain. The words sank deep. Even gone, he taught them. His true legacy was inside them. From that day, they saw life differently, raising their own kids. They remembered their father's lesson. Don't smother with expectations. Don't demand love. Just love, let them walk their own path. Find peace in freedom. John Miller left them more than just memory. He left an eternal lesson. True happiness isn't in possession, control, or dependence. It's in acceptance, unconditional love, and the freedom simply to be. The main mistake of old age isn't where you live, it's how you live. John learned, happiness doesn't depend on constant closeness to children, an irretrievable past, or circumstances. It depends on your outlook on each stage of life. Old age isn't a burden. It's a time to learn, reflect, and reconnect with yourself. Accepting life's impermanence, letting go of expectations, finding joy in your own company. That's the path to peace. The meaning of this story, love shouldn't be a demand. It should flow naturally. The less we demand, the easier relationships become. By stopping the expectation that children fill our void, we make space for love to flow freely, without weight or guilt, only gratitude. Like John, we can all find new meaning by discovering true happiness isn't out there, it's inside us.